What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to MileHighDiscussions. My name is Hugh O'Brien, and I will be one of your hosts today. Today, we're going to be talking about music, so it's going to be pretty great. We're also might actually have another guest joining us for the second half of the show, so another reason to get excited. But I'll turn it over to our guests to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Ella Estacio, and I'm a senior at Denver East High School.
I am Maliq Wynn. I'm a senior at Denver East High School.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm your other host today. And we're going to start out with kind of an open question. But what do you guys think about the upcoming Amy Winehouse hologram tour? For those of you who don't know what it is, Amy Winehouse actually died in 2011, but her hologram is going on tour and people are paying to go see these concerts, and it's kind of a biased thing in the media right now. People are either super for it and really excited to go see her, or super against it, and they think it's disrespectful. But what is your take on it?
I really don't find that to be like disrespectful. Like, I mean, I've always thought like the holograms were kind of a weird thing just because they're trying to like bring back the dead, which is kind of suspect.
Fair point.
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't see any wrong in it.
And to play devil's advocate, because I personally don't think it's anything bad, because you're celebrating, that artist and their life and their works. But on the other hand, you can look at it and be like, oh, you're or like making profit off of their death. You're like
That's true.
Bringing in money. And like it depends to where that money goes. Does it go to the family? Does it go to foundations? Or is it just, I'm keeping this for myself?
It has been those 7 or so years since she died, and usually the popularity of an artist when they die does spike, but it eventually dies down again.
Yeah.
And I personally think that as it has been like 7 years, I don't think this tour is going to be super based on the fact that she's dead. Maybe that it's a hologram, because I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's going to be her music nonetheless. So I don't really see a problem with that.
Yeah.
So.
I can definitely see the other side, though. See how it might be a little bit disrespectful to her name, and people that it's maybe not as authentic as going to see her in real life, which I know isn't possible anymore, but still just not as authentic. And they've done this with other artists, too. I don't know what exactly, but I know they have in the past.
I know that there's a big like thing in Japan with holograph concerts.
They have like characters, anime characters, who then have like actual live performances as holograms.
They're nuts. But
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how far technology has gotten with the ability to have, for lack of a better word, like a fake concert, to be almost the same experience as a real one.
Right, yeah.
So.
It's kind of like, I feel like you're getting robbed at that point, honestly. Like, you're just going to see like a projection, like, that's crazy.
Would you pay to go see a hologram?
I don't think so, honestly. Like, I feel like I like to tell myself that I would, but I really wouldn't.
No,
like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I might pay
It's
for
cool.
like once to like see it. To
It's like for the experience rather than the music.
The big thing about concerts is sort of the artist interacting with the audience, and if it's just pre-recorded hologram footage or whatever, then that might be an issue. So it's gotten a bit of sort of publicity. Do you think this is going to become like a bigger trend? As like, for example, in 2017, a lot of like really famous artists died.
Yeah.
David Bowie is one of my sadnesses, but and so is it going to become like a bigger trend?
I think it will, because of with how far technology comes to. It's like you can create new movements, new holographs. You don't have to just use the pre-record stuff with like things like bodysuits and like motion tracking, and then just put the face. There's technology where you can just put a face on top of someone else and like control what they say and do. And I think it will become more common. I think it might take a little while to start up, but I do see it trending in the near future.
Do you think Well, I know that they can put their faces on new bodies and they can, you know, make these concerts a lot of fun, but they can't ever make new music as these people. And like they don't, like I know Mac Miller recently died and people are really sad because, I mean, his music was awesome and there's never really going to be like, you can't ever really recreate it like him because...
I kind of disagree with that because I forget the name of the song, but Drake, I think a couple of months ago, released a song with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And it's been, 20 years at least since Michael Jackson died, I think?
Yeah.
Probably maybe a bit longer, definitely a bit longer, I think.
Nah, it's been like...
20 years? He died in like...
It's been a little less.
I was a little kid. I was a little kid when he... I was like...
I'm
elementary school.
2008.
Nonetheless, Michael, this new song with Michael Jackson's lyrics on it, that's sort of him putting his voice onto a song without like ever hearing the song. Do you think that's okay?
It's tough, especially when it comes to artists who have already passed away, to know to what extent, you know, is it okay to sample their music? Is it okay to use it and create new music based on them? And I think at this point, it's just you have to be really clear about crediting the artist, which I know in this day and age, it's so easy to just steal that crediting at the very least, especially with someone who passed away, and then taking some of those, like, the money that you make off of it and putting it towards the family or putting it towards a donation in their name.
Yeah, and also with like this dude XXXTentacion, like they're like still releasing music after he died, and it's like it's just annoying in my opinion. Like dude was weird. I don't know, like it's just kind of ridiculous to like release that because it's just like it's still so controversial and it's like a tender subject almost, but it's like,
especially with artists who died unexpectedly, like X was, you know, literally murdered, and so it's what was he thinking of? Is it right of us to release music or should we hold it back?
But also just like his past is just like it's just I don't know, it's just way too controversial, and it's like, I don't think that there's a point to releasing music now, because it's like, it's kind of gone now, like the hype of like, you know, his passing, like, but I don't know.
I think that kind of brings us to a nice, my other question was kind of how are we taking away from the music in the sense that we're getting really like commercialized almost. So like, there's all these paparazzi, for example. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, it makes me, I know there's especially like issues with record labels and artists and the ability that they feel the freedom they have to express themselves through that. I don't know if that's kind of what you're touching on too, is one of those. And the like financial element of it is you kind of write whatever is popular in the time. So even if it's a style you don't like, you kind of, in order to stay relevant, need to follow that trend. And it's hard to witness artists go through it, and especially those who don't want to sign to a record because they don't want to have to fall into that. I have to like keep going and produce music this way rather than my own way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a big issue as record labels start demanding more and more from artists, I personally think the quality of the music goes down. Like a lot of songs nowadays are created from 4 really simple chords. Which is sort of depressing as you think like some really great artists from a while ago, and there are still some today, but mainly a while ago, a lot of these songs had incredible chord structures and chord progressions.
I don't know if you guys know anything about Zaytoven, but like really popular producer like in the South, but and also like early Gucci Mane collaborator, and like he's just like a crazy talented musician, and everybody like loved his music, but like up until like now, people have started like caring about it, you know what I mean? Because back then when it came out, it was just like, oh, this is crazy. It's like all these sounds, but like it really like has some crazy like progression to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many great artists out there and past artists, like we were talking about earlier. Do you really think, like how much more original music can we keep on making?
That's true. I feel like with lyrics-wise, you can kind of go anywhere, but when it comes to the actual musical element, those chord progressions, what instruments you can use, it becomes really tough because there is also, again, that trend in musical progression, that trend in chords, what sounds good, what the public likes. It's really hard for artists to blow up the way that some of our artists already have. And I feel like it's really hard for rising artists to kind of get to that point of fame and success unless they like hop on that wave and they hop on those trends and they, less original, more commercial.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Especially like all the music now is just like Caribbean and like reggaeton inspired, and it's like, it's nuts. It's just like this whole cultural wave of just like stuff that came from like South America and like even the Caribbean too. It's like mainstream, but yeah.
And then you have these sites that like SoundCloud where you don't really have to pay for the music, and like what's the difference between that and Apple Music?
True. And then the other thing with like SoundCloud is anyone can upload their music.
Right,
Anyone
exactly.
can be an artist.
Right.
But whereas like other like things that have
Platforms,
subscription, it's a lot more regulated. Although I do know people who can release like on Spotify, they're able to release their own music on there. But
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting to see where popularity then comes in, and there's so many more subgroups of music, of like fan bases, of new genres. So
I think SoundCloud is a really good platform. It may limit to an extent the amount of money that an artist can make, but also it's giving so much opportunity to a lot of young artists. Now, some of these artists may be low quality and for some reason or another gets famous, but there are other artists that are like really incredible musicians, and they probably wouldn't have had a chance to get as big as they are today without SoundCloud.
Yeah. I mean, like, a lot of the music on SoundCloud, it's like a lot less technical. It's like, it's all just like, all kind of has like a basic, just like, it's just a level that everybody's on. And it's kind of weird. But also there's like a lot of crazy cool underground scenes that don't have as much like popularity, but they're definitely like where a lot of trends that come to like Western music, like they definitely start those and trigger a whole lot of things down there.
Do you think like all trends that sort of influence Western music are good? Like as like throughout history, there have been certain trends with certain scales that have been like really famously used, and up until maybe the past 100 or 200 years, that's actually sort of been decided by the church. Kind of weird to think about that. But we've seen like the rise of jazz, rock and roll, electronic music, rap music, all in the past 70-ish, maybe 80 or 90 years. Do you think it's good to change to so many different types of music in such a relatively little time? And also, where do you think music is going?
I think those trends are good. I personally do like them, and I think especially pulling from other cultures and kind of opening up, like I think you were talking about it earlier, of just like bringing in other elements of other cultures kind of is something that's good to do, and it's something that exposes another part of the world in a new way, and then creates a pathway to other parts of the world.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. It was such a nice treat to have you guys here. Hopefully in the next couple of minutes we'll have a new guest coming, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for watching as well. We will see you guys after the break.
Learn what you love what you learn. Graduate debt-free from a certified program in health science, design, trades, or administration in less than a year. Opportunity comes from possibility. Come see what's possible.
Hi, and welcome back to MileHighDiscussions. We have with us a new guest. If you want to introduce yourself really fast.
My name's Oliver Chamberlain. I go to East High School, and I'm a filmmaker in the city of Denver.
Awesome. We're going to get right back on it. Our topic of conversation today is music. And I'm going to start with a quick question. So, do you guys, I know our generation has gotten really into kind of more digitalized music, like Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud. We all have it at like the access of our phones. But do younger generations, we don't feel this need to have like vinyls or CDs or things like that. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think there's mostly the biggest thing with vinyls right now in our generation and like the millennial generation is it's a thing about aesthetics. It's a thing about pulling back to those kind of vintage things and creating, it's more for self rather than for the music itself.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed that that's a big trend is getting a record player, getting vinyls, you know. Oh, it's so unique.
I mean, I think the access is the whole reason for why we have these things, these Apple Music and Spotify, like you mentioned, and I think music has blown up and because of it. So there's artists who would never have blown up back in the 70s, just because of lack of access, have now been starting to rise up, and so now we have people who are different, and we have a lot more variety, and kids know more music, more different types of music. I mean, I think that's the biggest effect that it's had.
Yeah, definitely.
Is this increased access to music a good thing?
Yes.
Yes. You think music should be everywhere? Even if a lot of artists nowadays talk about like really messed up things, and this of course brings into the picture the First Amendment and freedom of speech. Should everybody, all ages, all backgrounds, be able to hear all different kinds of music, or should there be some sort of worry about certain topics offending one person or another or negatively affecting children or something?
I think every type of music should be heard because the big thing is that you're always going to offend someone. Someone's always going to be upset with you, so why limit it? And you don't want to worry about that First Amendment problem because there's already so much backlash that we have like with the Second Amendment right now that you don't want to bring that into the music world, especially because it's something where it's based on expressing yourself, expressing what you believe in, really putting it out in a new form. So I don't think we should limit it, even if it is a message, that's very controversial or kind of scary to think about. I think it should still be put out in the world because it has the right to be.
I mean,
any thoughts?
The other thing about access is there's so much, you can just avoid the things you don't like or the things you don't want your kids to hear, So as far as limiting what people can say is ridiculous because, music is one of the best ways to express oneself, and to limit it would almost be to downplay the whole point of the media.
Yeah, I think this sort of brings us on to the topic of politics in music, with talking about the First Amendment. A notable player in this is Kanye West, and how he has, at least to a lot of other popular people, a very controversial political view. Should artists sort of stick to their medium, or because of their popularity and sort of limit their opinion spread, or should they be able to do whatever they want?
I mean, I know there's always a lot of backlash with people being like, stay in your own lane. You're a musician, stay in music. But I think art has always had a political tone to it. That's the way it's been since way back when we first found art. It always has had some sort of influence on the political nature around it,
Right.
whether it's fighting against it or whether it's cheering for it, whether it's funded by it. So I think musicians are allowed to go out and be vocal about it. They're allowed to go out and speak their mind because
Do you think artists should be obligated or feel a need to use their platforms for maybe not necessarily political, but at least to express their beliefs?
I mean, I think that's up to the artist. If somebody feels obligated to express something about the world around them, then yes, but artists, just talk about what they want to talk about, and I
Right.
think we should keep it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sort of, so with these artists and them sort of spreading their own opinions and whatnot through both social media platforms and other platforms, in addition to their lyrics, the lyrics have taken on, at least in my opinion, sort of a new meaning, and they're a lot more stronger than I think at least a couple of years ago. Should lyrics become the new strongest part of music, or should there still be a balance between the chord structure and the actual music with the lyrics?
And like, I think of This Is America when you say that. Like, I think of the message that is put into This Is America,
Right.
this entire story
very
that's
politicized.
crafted around it.
Yeah.
And I think though it's back again to that, it's up to the artist, but I do think there should be kind of more of a movement towards putting that meaning back into your lyrics, putting meaning back into your song, because there's a lot of like mumble rap that sometimes I'm like, you're literally just mumbling, you're literally just saying words and you're focusing on kind of the noise rather than the words. And so I personally find that value in prioritizing the lyrics. And like, again, it's up to the artist, but I think having a message in your music, even if it's like, oh, this couch is super comfy, it's still better than arbitrary noises, you know?
I agree with you. I think that the power in lyrics is significant. But I think nowadays, it seems to me that a lot of kids are more focused on the beat of a song than they are the lyrics, because I mean, let's be honest, a lot of rap these days is made to be played in parties.
Right.
And in parties, you don't listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
You're right.
You just move to the beat. And it's also interesting that you bring up This Is America, because I think This Is America became so popular not because, I mean, yes, of course, because of its lyrics, but
then that
because
all
of
very catchy.
the chords,
the chords and but mainly the music video
Yeah.
was so
That's
striking
definitely.
and so direct into its point. And I think people really caught on. I mean, that music video blew up more than, a lot of things we've seen in the music video industry. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. A lot of these, like you guys have said, the lyrics have taken on more meaning. But a big trend nowadays, as artists focus more and more on their sort of social media persona, a lot of artists don't write their own music anymore. Post Malone hasn't written some of his most famous songs. Should this trend of just performing other people's compilations and creations continue? Is it okay, or should artists start to focus more on their own music rather than their following and their persona?
I think it's okay to have a ghostwriter. I think it's okay, especially if it's an artist who their biggest struggle is creating those lyrics, creating those tones. They're better at performing it. I think it's okay to be like, I'm gonna have someone else write for me and then just perform their work, because maybe that writer isn't able to perform in the way that they would like to see.
I would almost disagree with you, not in the fact that the writer isn't expressing their art, but almost in the way that the person who is performing it isn't, that's not how they necessarily feel, that's not their feelings. And so I guess it would be hard for them to perform it in a way that's really authentic.
Yeah.
But what do you think about it?
Honestly, I think ghostwriting is a little ridiculous because, as I said earlier, music is about expression. And if you're performing somebody else's ideas, whether or not they're designed to be your style or your type of lyrics, isn't expression. You're expressing that other person's opinions.
Yeah, I agree.
And then to go out on tour and get paid for that person's lyrics is a little seems a little, I don't know how to put it, but it doesn't seem right to me.
I mean, for me personally, it's like it also depends on what role, the interaction and the relationship between the ghostwriter and the artist, because like I know when I wrote music, when I would kind of like try and create lyrics, I can't perform it to the level I wanted to see it. So I worked with another artist to be like, oh, what do you think about this kind of message? What do you think about these lyrics? It was more of a collaboration.
Right.
And while I mostly carried like writing the actual lyrics, writing the actual music, they did have some influence. They did get to say what it is they wanted to then portray in their music.
Right.
So it's putting in their influence in what I write.
Yeah, so it's kind of not just your message and not just their message, but kind of
combination.
Like both messages. I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all right, but I also agree with Ollie. If you're just simply performing somebody else's music without giving them credit for it, like I think it's fine if, say, someone wants to perform Bohemian Rhapsody or something, and they give credit to Queen for it. But like you said, music is a really valuable way of expression, and one of our biggest honors as citizens of Western civilization, as well as citizens of America, is the ability to express ourselves in whatever way we want to. And I at least think it's kind of sort of wasting that right if artists don't express themselves.
Yeah. What do you think this is like, performing ghostwriters, but also, I guess like not performing your own art? What do you think that has done to like artistic integrity? Like at this point, it's hard to tell who has written what songs. I mean, I didn't know that facts about Post Malone before you had said it. So,
I mean,
obviously, it's kind of broken a bit of a relationship between the creator and the audience, because I remember when everybody figured out that Drake had a ghostwriter, you know, it was a big deal because he's a really talented artist, and you would think to yourself, if you're the man, you're the talent, why can't you create these songs on your own, write these songs?
Right.
And then I think it does kind of damage the artist, because I think the reason Drake isn't thought to be the best rapper right now is because he's got a ghostwriter. And I think, not to downplay Kendrick Lamar in any way, because I think he is probably the most talented rapper we see right now, but he is. It doesn't seem. I've never been aware of him having a ghostwriter. So I think that
it makes it more authentic.
His audience feels that his music is more authentic. Not to mention he's skilled, so I think that's why he has been considered the best for such a long period of time.
So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Elle, and thank you, Oliver, for joining us and having this awesome conversation.
Yeah. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.